Hi there, I'm Kevin Devine and this is Devine Encounters, where I bump into stars and celebrities and have unplanned, unscripted chats with them here in the heart of London. Now there's a gentleman here whose face you'll recognise, and if you don't recognise his face, you'll definitely recognise his sound. Andy Lewis, bass player.
Hello, yes.
Kevin Devine for Devine Encounters today.
Kevin. All right,
how are you?
Yeah.
What brings you into Soho today, Andy?
Well, I've had a little meeting in old Bar Italia just across the road, and then I'm popping round to a accoutrements shop called Peck and Rye, just round the corner, where I shall be trying on a few cravats and scarves and ties and the like, because I do like my clothes and I do like to accessorise, as all gentlemen should.
Absolutely, and you're a musician as well. You've talked about the fashion side there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your music background though. You're the bass player,
Yes,
Paul Weller.
That's right, yeah.
And also you have your own stuff going as well.
I do, yeah.
What projects have you got going just now?
Well, in between waiting for Paul's new album to come out, which will be next year, I'm just finishing an album of my own, and I'm also rehearsing for some shows that I'm doing later this year. And I've got an album coming out at the beginning of the year with my side project band called the Red Inspectors, who are basically the band that I play with when we're doing Andy Lewis gigs.
Yeah.
And just for fun, we recorded in 3 days an album of groovy acid jazz instrumentals to celebrate acid jazz's 25th anniversary, which is also next year. So that's coming out early next year. So all this sort of stuff going on, and I'm also just enjoying having a nice summer, prowling the streets of London, you know, and chilling out in the sunshine, which is great.
It sounds like if you'll pardon me saying, a real musician's life you've got as well. You've talked about going shopping for your fashion, hanging out, having a coffee. Tell us a bit about when you're with Paul and things and you're on the road. How rock and roll does it get for you?
Well, it's funny. People assume that it's really glamorous and all that sort of thing. And yes, I suppose it is. But as I was just saying earlier on today, it doesn't matter what level you are, what band you play in. It's the same things that happen. It's the same stuff that winds you up. It's the same misadventures and pitfalls. It's always lost bags in an airport or missing a bus or something like that. It doesn't matter what level you're at. It's the same kind of things that happen. The same things can go wrong. So really, it's just, you know, I used to joke that being in a band is heavy lifting in exotic places with all the equipment you've got to hump around, and it is kind of like that. Even in Paul Weller's band, even when you're playing, you know, sort of the O2 or the Albert Hall or some festival, it's still, you know, it's hard work, but it's the hard work that makes it all good.
Yeah.
You know.
You've mentioned a couple of venues there. These are the size of the concerts that you play. So when you walk out to the O2 and you've got 10, 20,000 people there waiting for you, how does that make you feel as a
Terrified.
musician? Really?
Yeah, but having said that, when you actually get there and start playing, because everyone in the band is so good and you've practiced a lot and you're confident about what you're doing, you can only really see the first couple of rows anyway. So you just imagine that you're playing some little pub somewhere where you can only see the first sort of 30 people and you're fine, you know. And you rely on all your mates and in the band, you know, the music just takes you away and you forget where you are after a while. You just get lost in the moment, you know.
And you talked about sort of imagining a smaller venue there. When you were starting out, who influenced you? And literally, is that how you started, in smaller bands and playing pubs and clubs and things?
Oh yeah. I think my first proper gig was at a youth club in a church hall somewhere when I was about 14 or 15, you know, sort of playing, I don't know what we did, 99 Red Balloons or something, I don't know. It's one of those sort of gigs where, you know, everyone sort of looks totally different, and because you know, I was a little bit of a mod and the drummer was really into Gary Newman or whatever, and we were just all thrashing out. It was hopeless, but it was really good fun, and it got me hooked. So you start, you know, and some people are happy just doing that, and I think whatever way you get your kicks with music, it doesn't matter. I mean, all the gigs I do with my own band are in tiny little clubs anyway, so I don't really mind, you know, it doesn't matter where you play as long as you're playing. I thoroughly enjoy it wherever it is.
And you've obviously seen all sides of the music industry now, because you've gone to the bigger venues and you've managed to scale down and things. Who influenced you as a bass player? Who did you look up to when you were growing up? What sort of music did you listen to? Well,
it's funny, isn't it? I always admired whoever was playing with Paul Weller. So when I was sort of starting out, obviously it was Bruce Foxton in the Jam, and then then the various bass players that he had in the Style Council, like Camille Hines, you know, who's a fantastic player, and then later on Henry Thomas, who used to do that rock school program. I thought he was a great player as well. But then there's all sorts of weird people, you know, John Entwistle, who you'd expect, Herbie Flowers, who you probably wouldn't expect, but he plays on on loads and loads of
musician,
records. But also he plays on things like Space Oddity by David Bowie and all that kind of thing. He's an amazing player, and all the KPM Music Library stuff as well. He was playing on that, and it's just he's a bit of a genius. And Martin Gordon from Sparks,
fabulous band,
who were a fabulous band, and you know, the sort of clanky old sound of his bass that really turned me on. I didn't know what it was when I was about 4, when This Town Ain't Big Enough for Both of Us came out, that I liked about that record, but I loved the sound of that bass in it, and, and as soon as I got old enough to know what it was, he was a big influence. We're
both giving away our age now, because I remember it as well, that, and it was a great track.
It was, yeah.
And how did it feel? You talked about when you were growing up, you were a bit of a fan of Paul Weller, and now you're playing alongside the man, so how did you get that gig?
Well, I was roadieing for a band that was supporting him, because, you know, when I say I'd done all sorts of things in the business, it's absolutely true. I mean, I do. As anyone in the music or entertainment business, you know, you turn your hand to anything in order to keep going. I was roadieing for a band who were on tour with him as a support band, but I'd also had a couple of records out on acid jazz, and he had a copy of one of my albums, and we got chatting one day, and I said to him, well, I've got some demos for my next album, do you want to hear them? So I gave them to him and thought no more about it, and then got a phone call in the middle of the night one night from Paul saying, I really, really like this song, you know, I really want to help, you know, can I sing on it, can I, you know, finish the lyrics off, can I be involved? And I said, well, yeah, of course you can, you know, let's do that. And so to pay the favour back for him getting involved with that song, I played on the 22 Dreams album, did some bass on that, and then when he was putting a band together to tour it, I joined them.
Phenomenal.
So I've gone from sort of like, you know, being a fan of his music, which I still am, to being in the band. And, you know, to be honest, whether I'm in his band or not, I still think he's an incredible musician, and I think he's one of the few musicians that's still saying something new and exciting and relevant, and taking you on a journey, you know, introducing you to all kinds of different music and all kinds of new music. And that's what's great about being in his band, is you sort of hang out and everybody has their own sort of like little mixtapes that they do for you. And it's just this massive music everybody's just sort of surrounded by, and I love it. I love it.
It sounds phenomenal. It sounds as if you've achieved a boyhood dream there.
If you mean, did I have dreams of sort of like stage fright and that kind of thing, then yeah, I suppose you could say that. But really, I mean, I think I achieved a boyhood dream just by being able to stand up and play in front of people. And I'm, you know, whether I'm in Paul's band or not, I mean, I'm happy to, in the phrase, live the dream at any opportunity I can. It's great. Good. It's fantastic.
And finally, if we want to find out about you online today, where can your fans go to find out about the new album, or do you have your own website? Well,
I do have a website, but it is very, very poorly managed, because I don't know a great deal about all that kind of thing. AndyLewis.info is where you can find that. I am on Facebook. I'm also on Twitter. I do like a tweet, so you can find me at AndyLewisUK on Twitter. And I do like to tweet a lot about all kinds of things. And I've been tweeting a lot about sort of, you know, copyright extension and all kinds of stuff recently.
Absolutely.
And boring the pants out of people about that. And I think a lot of people who just go on there looking to see if there's any sort of information about Paul Weller are sorely disappointed. But if you don't mind putting up with me waffling on about any old rubbish, then that's the place to look.